At 80 years old, Rod Stewart is finally speaking up about Ronnie Wood, and his story starts way back. Rod Stewart, born Roderick David Stewart on January 10, 1945 in Highgate, London, came up from a modest life in post-war England, pushing through tough times with pure drive and natural talent. Growing up as the eldest of 5 kids, he was surrounded by a tight family vibe where music was always in the air, and that early energy shaped his passion for performing in a big way. Even with challenges in his early years, Stewart quickly found his voice and that unique style people would recognize anywhere. Those early sparks laid the groundwork for a career stretching over 6 massive decades, turning him from a local kid with dreams into a global superstar with a legendary presence. His real musical rise took off in the early 1960s when he jumped into different British bands, grinding hard to sharpen his skills as a vocalist. One of his first major breaks came when he linked up with the Jeff Beck Group. His gritty, soulful voice hit instantly, shaking things up. That mix of Stewart's raw power and the band's aggressive rock sound created a flavor people weren't ready for, blending rock, blues, and soul into something bold and fresh. Later, when he joined the Faces, things leveled up even more. Their wild energy, sharp humor, and natural chemistry turned them into a force, and Stewart's charisma on stage grabbed crowds without fail. Performing with the Faces pushed him to grow not only as a singer, but as a full-out entertainer, helping him develop the confidence and swagger that shaped his future solo success. Rod Stewart's solo rides blasted off in the late 1960s and early 1970s, showing everyone just how smoothly he could slide between different styles without missing a beat. With massive hits like Maggie May and You Wear It Well, he proved he had a rare gift for storytelling, mixing honest, emotional lyrics with melodies that stuck in your head for days. His songs connected with millions, tapping into real-life moments of love, heartbreak, and personal growth that felt relatable to anyone listening. As the years rolled on, Stewart kept leveling up his sound, experimenting with rock, pop, R&B, and even classic standards without ever losing that signature spark. He dropped a long list of studio albums over the decades, eventually selling more than 120 million records worldwide, showing just how strong his global fan base really is. Songs like Maggie May, Do You Think I'm Sexy, Sailing, and Forever Young turned into timeless anthems, loved across different generations thanks to their memorable hooks, emotional punch, and that unmistakable Rod Stewart voice. One thing that makes Stewart stand out is his flexibility. He can switch from rock to folk to disco to soul and still sound like himself every single time. He keeps reinventing his style, yet he always keeps that core identity that fans instantly recognize and respect. Rod's musical journey is stacked with versatility and charm, showcased in a lineup of albums that highlight both his rock star energy and his natural gift for soft, emotional ballads. During the mid to late 1990s, he dropped several standout releases that captured different layers of his artistry in bold ways. His 1995 album, A Spanner in the Works, spotlighted his raspy powerhouse voice and his ability to blend rock attitude with smooth pop vibes. Then in 1996, If We Fall in Love Tonight arrived with a collection of romantic ballads and reflective classics, reminding everyone why he's considered one of the strongest voices in modern love songs. He kept pushing forward creatively with When We Were the New Boys in 1998, a project packed with youthful energy, modern touches, and a mix of covers and originals that kept his sound feeling fresh and current. After that came The Story So Far, The Very Best of Rod Stewart in 2001, a carefully crafted anthology celebrating decades of hits and crowd favorites, giving longtime fans and new listeners a chance to experience the range and depth of Rod Stewart's incredible career in one powerful collection. Rod Stewart amazed fans across the world with his bold and ambitious Great American Songbook series, a project that showed massive respect for the golden age of American music while giving those classics a fresh spark. Across 4 volumes, he brought new flavor to legendary songs from the 1930s and 1940s, proving he could switch lanes from rock legend to smooth crooner without breaking a sweat. each release became a reminder of how broad and timeless his talent truly is. Rod Stewart's long career has earned him a stack of awards and honors, from Grammy nominations to being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame not once, but twice, both as a solo star and as a member of the Faces. His success isn't just about fame. Critics have praised him for decades, and he's also used his platform to support charitable causes and stay close to his fans, showing real appreciation for the people who've lifted him up throughout his journey. When it comes to his personal life, Rod Stewart's marriages feel like separate chapters that track different moments in his rise to global stardom. His first marriage was with Alana Collins, a model and actress whose glamorous style matched perfectly with Rod's growing iconic status in the late 1970s. They tied the knot in 1979, during a time when Rod was already known worldwide for his gritty voice, standout fashion, and bold, rebellious charm. Their relationship instantly became a magnet for the entertainment press, not just because of their strong chemistry, but because they looked like a real-life Hollywood power duo. Her bright California shine, mixed with his sharp British edge, created a look that turned heads everywhere. Even though they shared 2 children and plenty of happy moments, the nonstop pressure of fame, heavy travel schedules, and the wild lifestyle that surrounded them started putting serious stress on their marriage. After 5 intense years, they finalized their divorce in 1984, and the breakup was both highly public and emotionally heavy for the two of them. Even though the marriage ended, that chapter left a deep impact on Rod's emotional world, pushing him to create some of his more reflective music later on. As time moved on, Rod stepped into a new era when he married Rachel Hunter in 1990. This relationship had a completely different vibe. Rachel, an international supermodel from New Zealand, was nearly 25 years younger than Rod and brought a fresh, electric energy into his life. She had global star power, youthful confidence, and a glamorous image that fit right into Rod's high-profile lifestyle. Their wedding sparked huge worldwide attention, not only because Rod was already legendary, but because everyone was talking about the age difference, from gossip columns to TV talk shows. Still, the couple always insisted their connection was real and built on genuine affection, not outside chatter. For years, they appeared to be one of the standout celebrity couples of the 1990s, showing up at major events, modeling campaigns, and high-profile appearances that kept them constantly in the spotlight. They also welcomed 2 children together and built a life filled with style, attention, and a level of fame that made them one of the most talked-about duos of their time. But even with all the glitz around them, their marriage started feeling the pressure. By the early 2000s, Rod and Rachel were quietly drifting apart, and although they lived separately for years before anything was official, their divorce was finalized in 2006. Rod later shared just how much the breakup shook him, even admitting he once believed Rachel was truly the one. That period pushed him into some serious self-reflection, reshaping how he understood love, loyalty, and family moving forward. Then came his third marriage, this time with Penny Lancaster, a former model and photographer who brought a calming, steady, and genuinely supportive energy into Rod's world. They tied the knot in 2007, beginning a chapter built on stability, partnership, and real mutual respect. Penny had already been part of his life since the late 1990s, and she wasn't just another romantic partner, she stepped in as his emotional foundation, someone who grounded him in a way he hadn't experienced before. Their relationship grew naturally, fueled by friendship, shared values, and a deeper sense of connection that Rod himself has praised many times. With Penny, he embraced a more settled way of living, family-focused, mature, and far less chaotic than the wild pace he kept during his earlier marriages. They welcomed 2 children together, and over the years, Penny has become a key part of Rod's public world, not only as his wife, but as a woman whose warmth, confidence, and strong presence aligns perfectly with him.
Their marriage has lasted far longer than his first two, and Rod often credits Penny with helping him evolve into a better partner, a committed father, and a more grounded man as he stepped into the later chapters of his life and career. For decades, fans have sensed that behind the shiny image of rock and roll brotherhood, something deeper and definitely more complicated was happening between Rod Stewart and his longtime friend and Faces bandmate, Ronnie Wood. Now that Rod Stewart has hit 80, he's finally opening up about his long, tangled history with Ronnie Wood, and he's doing it with a mix of affection, honesty, and that sharp sense of humor he's known for. Looking back on almost 6 decades of friendship, rivalry, wild nights, and real respect, Rod is pulling the curtain back on a bond that shaped some of the most unforgettable moments in British rock.
Ronnie's always been like a cheeky little brother to me, Rod says, and that one line sums up their whole vibe perfectly. He paints a picture of Ronnie during the early Faces days, showing up out of nowhere like a whirlwind, unpredictable and hyped up, always ready for mischief. Rod says Ronnie would stroll in with a guitar, a massive grin, and a look that basically warned everyone something crazy is about to happen. And according to Rod, you either ended up having the time of your life or paying for something pricey later on. Rod laughs as he tells it, but there's a real warmth behind the memories, especially when he talks about Ronnie's non-stop energy. Stewart even dives into the creative tension that fueled some of their best music, explaining that they regularly clashed over how a track should sound. Rod says, "Ronnie and I didn't always agree on how a song should sound. He'd push me, I'd push back, and then we'd somehow meet in the middle with something magical. That was Ronnie's gift." He explains that Ronnie had a rare talent for slicing through all the extra noise and finding the emotional core of a song. Even when things heated up, even when the studio was full of cigarette smoke and oversized egos, there was always a shared mission between them. "He kept me honest," he admits, "and trust me, in those years, I needed someone to do that." But Rod doesn't sugarcoat the darker chapters either. He speaks openly about the times when addiction, fame, and outside pressure dragged their friendship through some seriously rough territory. "There were times when I didn't know if Ronnie would make it to the next show," Rod admits with a heavy truth, showing just how intense things really were between them. "We were all wild, but Ronnie lived on a razor's edge for a long time." Rod opens up about watching his friend battle his own storms, feeling torn between stepping in or stepping back, unsure which choice would actually help. "Sometimes I had to walk away and hope he'd find his way, and somehow he always did. But it was hard to watch. Even with all the chaos, the one thread that never snapped between them was loyalty." Rod says that no matter how long they went without speaking, months, sometimes even years, the second they ended up in the same room, it felt like no time had passed at all. He talks about their natural rhythm, the jokes, the non-stop teasing, and the way that Ronnie could make him laugh harder than almost anyone else in his life. "Ronnie's got this thing about him. You can't stay mad at him. You try, believe me, but it never works," Rod says with a grin. Their friendship shifted again once Ronnie joined the Rolling Stones, and people started whispering about whether Rod felt overshadowed as Ronnie stepped into one of the biggest rock bands ever. Rod faces that question with straight-up honesty. "Was I jealous? Of course I was. Who wouldn't be? But I was proud too. Ronnie deserved that stage. He'd worked his ARS off for it, and he belonged there." Rod explains that their separate career paths didn't weaken their bond. They actually strengthened the respect they had for each other. "He wasn't just my mate from the Faces anymore. He became Ronnie Wood, rock legend, and I loved seeing that." Now that both men have slowed down just a bit, though neither seems interested in stopping completely, Rod says he sees their connection with more clarity than ever before. "We grew up together in a way. We went through things most people can't imagine, and we survived it. That's something rare." Then he lightens the moment with a cheeky smile. "And now we're a couple of old geezers who still talk rubbish and crack each other up. Some things never change."
In the end, Rod Stewart's late-in-life reflections on Ronnie Wood paint a powerful picture of two men tied together not just by music, but by decades of surviving the wild beauty of rock and roll side by side. Their story is built on brotherhood, friction, forgiveness, and deep affection, the kind of bond that can only grow through years lived loudly, boldly, and fearlessly. As Rod puts it best, Ronnie's family always has been, always will be. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment. Let us know what you want covered next.